Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR Sports Weekly Rugby Podcast, including Kilkenny, Tullow and Carlow rugby clubs. Paddy Browne and Tom Crotty joined us this week. We had a bit of a break over the Christmas, and of course some of the rugby had a bit of a break as well. But we're back onto this part of the season where the fixtures, we start them all over again, lads, don't we? Sort of got back playing the same teams again, nearly in reverse order, is it, or in the same order?
The same order.
Same order. Yeah. So so we're back into that part of the season now. This is when I suppose everything starts to get interesting, and the Towns Cup coming up as well. There'll be no end coming around as well. But Tom, you were in action last weekend. A tough assignment heading up to Bective. Always is. It's a bit daunting, but he's only came up a bit short at the weekend, and probably I would say it nearly felt like he's left it behind a bit.
Yeah. Look, we had it was kind of a bit of a disastrous week coming into it. We've had an awful lot of injuries. Both my two young fellas are out. We lost Johnny Murphy in the pack. We lost Joel Brown, the back row, the night before the game. He was sick, and so we're kind of shuffling everyone around. Gotten just hit with an awful lot of injury. We had, I think, two injuries from the Sea Point game, and then we had one or two just kind of had they were kind of niggling before, but scans have come through and players not available. So we went up. Our seconds had to get shoved around because of the amount of players missing from the starting 15 from the first. So I go to the seconds first. They had a tough task. They started poorly. Got a try from the kick off. They did well in the first half, but they lost Josh Cope, broke his nose, a scrum half. So we actually hadn't got another real scrum half replacement because we lost Noah Cope at the start of the season. So we've had no. Our scrum half cover was poor enough, but in fairness, even Mark Tracy went in. He's not a scrum half, but did very well. They held out well for the first half, but just towards the end of the first half, Bective just got stronger, and then in the second half we had to take young Brian Broderick off. He was starting 10 for them and was doing very well. He had to come up to the bench for the J1s. So in the second half, the Bective were that bit stronger. They had a full squad, and the game ended up 34-7. It wasn't from the lack of effort from the lads. There was some really good performances with John Farrell. Has trained very well, and he's actually working with the Irish Sevens and has been kind of training with them as well. And he had a very good game. And Andrew Kelly in the second row again had an excellent game. Look, lads put in the effort. It wasn't from the want to trying, but Bective were just that bit stronger on the day. And as I said, like having to shuffle players around on the morning of the game and during the week, and between sicknesses and injuries, it was kind of a bit of a disaster. But because the seconds have been doing very well, there's still a good side, but just they can't. Even with all the players that we have, you take out some of the key players or in key positions, you're struggling. So the final score there was 34-7, so they'll have to get back up on the horse now this week, and they're playing Wicklow as well at home on Saturday. On to the J1s, we were, as I said, like with the injuries and that, we were very kind of nervous going up. We had kind of, I suppose, when you're going to Bective and going to Donnybrook and you're playing the league leaders, you'd be happy enough with any result coming out of it. But we were very nervous. As I said, our half were missing our starting 10 wing. We had to move it around, so the backline was kind of a bit all over the place. But they started off well enough. Then we gave away a soft try, and it was 7-0 to Bective. again, we were still in the fight. Bective were camped in our 22 for a long time, and eventually, look, they had a couple of models that they didn't score off it, so we defended really well. They gave away a penalty, and they decided eventually to kick that one, so it was 10-0. But look, we kind of, after 10-0, we kind of got back down the field and worked a couple of moves and got into the corner, and then moved it across, and then Paddy Mackey got a little breakthrough and went in under the post, and gave us a super try from him under the post. They got the conversion, so it was 10-7. Then we were kind of, things weren't looking great again. We were back up on our own line, and Bective scored. They scored another try. It was 17-7, and just before half time they got another try but missed the conversion. So at half time it was 22-17, and I think we were all a bit nervous. I think the crowd were a bit nervous, going, what way is this going to go? But look, we sat down at half time with the lads and had a good chat and said, look, we've nothing to lose here. We want to go out and score tries. We need to just score tries. So you're just going to have to throw the kitchen sink at it, basically. There was no fancy talk. It was down to basics. We need to score tries, lads, and that's it, plain and simple. So, look, it came out in the second half, a totally different team. We're really fired up. The pack were absolute. I have to say that the pack were phenomenal. Massive performances from the front row, with Paddy Rogers, Keelan Fitzhenry, and Tyrone, and then when Larry McGrath and Evan Gordon came on, like the front row were really good. Super games again from the rest of the pack. Well, Shirley had again another outstanding game. Our backs were, like, for a backline that was kind of put together. We started off with Liam Slater, and Liam did very well in the first half. Then 10 minutes in the second half, we took off Liam and brought on young Brian Broderick, who had already played in the seconds game. And Brian did a very, very good game at 10, distributed the ball well. We got Johnny Crosby, the ball went out. I don't know how it happened. It was an amazing try. We were over on the far side of the pitch, somewhere between the halfway and the 22, and Johnny got the ball and went into two tackles, but I don't know what happened. I know he's small, but he seemed to wingle his way under the legs of the two boys, and next minute we know he was in for it. He was in for a try, but problem is we missed the conversion. We missed the conversion on that, but that gave us 22, brought it up to 22-12. We went back up then, and we got another try with Conor Tracy, scored an excellent try. But again, I think because of the fact with the changes, and as Ben was normally our kicker, and we haven't had the pressure of it, and last we missed the conversion on that as well, and it was 22-17. Look, we got a few penalties and things went our way. The referee kind of gave us a few breaks, and we got a scrum penalty, a couple of scrum penalties, and we were camped on Bective's line, and we really, really should have scored, to be honest. We got the losing bonus point at the end of the game came, and we got the losing bonus point. But I honestly felt like we lost, because it was more like I think in any other day to come away with a bonus point, to be delighted, to get a bonus point coming out of Bective at this, against the league leaders and at home in their own in as I say, in Energy Park, like you would have been happy, but geez, we're actually disappointed that we didn't win it, because we really felt at the end probably a couple of indecisive decisions, and things just made those decisions probably could have passed the ball a little bit quicker. Lads were there waiting. Dave McDermott was waiting like a loaded gun, and we probably should have hit him a bit quicker, and just small little details, and it kind of just got away from us. But we really felt like, to be honest, like it was a massive to come away with the point. And I know later on, and probably sank in, we got a point out of that. But to be honest, we could have beaten them. Like Bective they're a very good side. but we did have them rattled, and I think the lads themselves will be disappointed. They were very disappointed after the match because they felt that probably we could have got that win. Yeah. I think Bective were really disappointed they didn't get the bonus point, and I think I overheard a conversation with one of the lads, and he was kind of saying they hope it didn't come back to bite them in the arse that they didn't get the bonus point. So they were disappointed they didn't get the bonus point. We were disappointed we actually didn't beat them, because I think when we got stuck into them, and I have to say I was really, really proud of them all from 1 to 15 on their performance. Our lineouts probably didn't go as well as they should have. Our scums, as I said, were super. The back line did well. We lost Will Casey, the full back, as well. We lost him early in the first half, so we had to move things around again. So like for the team that went up and the changes that were made, it was a fantastic performance, and probably one of the better second half performances I've seen from the lads in a long time, just even from pure grit and determination. But as I said, that doesn't count. We did lose the game. I know we got the point, and the point could be very important to us at the end of the season. But as I said, the pack were absolutely phenomenal, and Paddy Mackey, who came off the seconds on the night before. I was actually on Sunday morning. I was on Saturday morning. Joel Brown pulled out with sickness, and Paddy came up from seconds, and I'll be honest, I think he nearly had a man of the match performance there. He hasn't played a whole lot of first this season, and I have to say congratulations. So we had a new baby while we were on this. So with everything going on, he had an absolutely super game. But look, I think now at this stage, we'd be happy that when the dust is settled after this week. We're still going into Wicklow with a lot of injuries, but it's a game we have to try and win that game at home. It's a massive game for us. I know Tullow played them last weekend, and they had a good win. It's not an easy place to come out of, as we know, at the Black Gates. But so we know they're not going to be an easy. We play, as I say, we lost them up in Wicklow. We didn't play well that day, but look, the team is there. We believe we can do it, but it'll have to be a full 20-man performance again. 1 to 20. Everyone has to be clued in, and we have to come out fired up for that game. And the problem now being, but I think it's for all teams, that their training hasn't gone too well this week, and doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So trying to find somewhere to train and trying to find things that all the pitches are gone. We can't train, so that's not doing us any favors, especially when you're trying to bring in new players into the system and jiggling backlines around. And our pack will probably be solid, similar enough, but backline we'll have to make a few changes on the backline. But looking forward to Wicklow. We have to. It's getting to that point of the season with two more big games, Wicklow and then Tullow, then we have a break. So there's two big games ahead of us. I think we can get all the support we can get. We really will cry for support to come up on Saturday and give us a cheer out.
Yeah, it's a funny old game, Tom, isn't it? Bective, you look at them, and mentally, even before you even travel to Dublin, you're like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be a tough one. These lads are top dogs or whatever like that. And then you have a situation where you're galvanised a bit because of a couple of injuries and lads sick. You have a chat at half time and go, lads, we just need to score a try. Just keep it simple and whatever. And all of a sudden then there's a performance there, and like you said, small little details, and you could have beat them on their own patch as well. It's a funny old game, isn't it?
It is, and I think, Stephen, the fact that we were losing by so much at half time, we were kind of felt we've nothing to lose now at this stage, because they were on a high. They were the dominant side in the first half. They were looking towards. I suppose they were looking at that stage to get their bonus point. They probably felt themselves, they were just to go and get the bonus point. And I'm sure they probably thought they would go and get the bonus point. And I'd say the crowd thought, even their own crowd probably thought they'd go and get the bonus point. but it probably took some of the pressure off. It's amazing how, you know, in the game, it probably took some pressure off and opened up the game an awful lot. But it was just, look, they just got stuck into them, really did. Like, you know, our shape was quite good. You know, we just pinned when we got them. It was a reverse of the two halves. Like, they didn't score in the second half. You know, so
It's
like
mad.
we did the exact same to us. We did the exact same to them as they did to us in the first half. Like, we got them pinned down. The only problem is we should we should have scored that try. We should have scored a try at the end. And we probably, on a normal day, we got the kicks, and look, we're not. You don't point fingers at kickers. The pressure to be under pressure for young kickers to come up and take on the role. You know, in a top, like against a top team like that, and the crowd and the stand, and you know, it's an awful lot of pressure. So like, it's not the point. The point is we should have scored a try at the end. You know, we should have got another point out of it. Should have won the game at least. You know, but. As I said, look, we're happy coming out of it with a point. And if you told us at the start of the season we were going to get a point, you know, a point coming out of Dublin, you'd be thrilled. So we'll take it on the head. And as I said, like, we have Wicklow at home on Saturday now, and both J1s and J2s. So we'll belt on and work and see how that goes.
Absolutely.
I'll just go through. We have our full house. If we got the pitches cleared with snow, we're going to leave the snow on it and try and clear the snow then, because it'll keep the pitch. The pitches actually aren't frozen underneath. We're up there, so we're just going to leave the snow sitting on it, and even if it's not, we can brush it off or shovel it off on Friday evening or Saturday morning and try and get the pitches cleared, because underneath the snow is actually protecting the pitch. So hopefully all the games will go ahead. Games for the weekend, then we have our under-14s are home to Gorey in Carlow on Sunday at 2:30. The under-16s are home to Wexford at 11 o'clock. That's on Sunday. Under-18s are home to Greystones on Sunday at 11:30. The Rhinos are at home on Sunday at 11:30, and it's the under-16 Rhinos are at home in Carlow at 11 o'clock on Sunday. Then the boys are under-13s are home to Byrne at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Under-14s are away to Enniscorthy. Under-15s are away to Tullow on Sunday at 2 p.m. The under-16s are home to Kilkenny. That's Friday night. Hopefully that'll go ahead at 7:30. And our under-18 Division 2s are away to Athy on Saturday at 10:30, and our under-18 Premier are home to Dundalk on Sunday at 11. And the women, I think, are playing at 1 o'clock against De La Salle on Sunday. So we have a packed house over Saturday and Sunday with games. So if anyone is missing the bit of rugby from over the week, definitely come up on Saturday, Sunday. Plenty of games on.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, Tom. Good old update there on Carlow. And just fingers crossed now the place will start to thaw now over the next few days. For anyone listening that's not in the Midlands or anywhere around like that, it's, what is it? What day is today? Wednesday the 8th, and there's still a lot of snow and ice sitting around Carlow and Kilkenny and Laois and places like that as well. It hasn't moved, and the thaw is going to be a slow one. Now, Paddy, Tullow, you were up against Wicklow there at the weekend, and you have a big trip up to Suttonians as well. Probably disappointed not to get the better of Wicklow. Wicklow, obviously, a tough fixture as well.
Yeah, we spoke, Jay, how are you, Stephen? We spoke before Christmas there about the importance of the 3 matches coming up in this block of matches that Tom mentioned there, and the importance of doing well in those matches. And we certainly were very disappointed with our performance last week. Wicklow beat us 18 points to 5, we didn't show up as well as we thought we would, and it's making this block an uphill battle now. And with with Suttonians and Carlow coming up. Before I get talking into the match, just to cover off a few other little things first. I mean, with 9 youth matches called off at the weekend, so we were lucky that the J1s and J2s did go ahead, and whether it was because of the 3G pitch or because there were Saturday matches, of course, the Sunday matches were more at risk, but certainly the pitch was a help in terms to get those matches going ahead. So it was a huge amount of cancellations, 9 games postponed. Our seconds were playing Bective on the 3G before the first, and we put out what we thought was a pretty good second team, but they were hammered. The half-time score was 28-22 to Wicklow, and they went on to win 75-29. So Wicklow really went to town. The second half was almost like I was reminded of the famous words of Micheál Murragh-Hurtigan when he said the first half was even and the second half was even worse. It was certainly a case of that in our second match last week. And as I said, we thought we'd a reasonable team on paper anyway, but Wicklow had a very young team, a lot of their 20s playing, and they were outstanding. So Tom, it'll be interesting to see how you do against them next week. We found them too hot to handle last week anyway, but our seconds found the same with Bective. So there's some strong teams in that division. So moving on to the first then, final score was 18-5, so no bonus point. We can't complain. We were hoping that Wicklow at home would be winnable, but they were that fair bit ahead of us in most facets of the game. The one little crib we might have, and I'm not saying it would have changed the result, Brandon, is that our scrum were very dominant and we pushed them off most scrums. And amazingly, the referee gave 3 penalties to them for scrums that we had completely pushed them off. Now, he saw something that nobody else could see, whether it was so going sideways or whatever, but we were very disappointed with that. But I'm not saying it would have made any difference. Our line out was only mediocre. We lost the fair few line outs, and the Wicklow line out was much more efficient. And we made a lot of handling errors too. So the team is just not clicking at the moment, and we're going to have to try and get those mistakes out of the system if we're going to rescue the season. And we'll talk about the points at the end of this slot. But I mean, it's going to be a tough few weeks ahead. Wicklow started off, and after 10 minutes they got a penalty to make it 3-0. We shortly after Adam Johnson missed a difficult kick out from the sideline, and it was a kind of a difficult day for kickers. There was a lot of swirling. So to say that scores before and after half time are it's what Leinster specialise in. Well, certainly it worked for Wicklow. Just a few minutes before half time, they got a try through Dewald Bernard and missed the conversion. That made it 8-0. And then at half time, and then within 5 minutes of the second half, Stephen Swan scored a try for them to make it 13-0. They missed both conversions. But that second try just after half time was from a scrum penalty where we were penalised again. So after that, Tullow did raise their game a bit and certainly were camped on the Wicklow line for a long period of time, but failed to score during that period. Scott Callback thought he had touched down. The referee disallowed it for Tullow going down on the ball and or going off their feet. And a try at that stage might have given us some hope when it was 13-0, because that was kind of early in the second half. But no, we failed to score, and Wicklow lifted the siege and went back up the field. We did get a score through a fine winger's try from sub Adam Burgess in about with about 15 minutes to go. We missed the conversion. That made it 13-5. So that would have been given us hope, particularly if we got the conversion. It would have made it a 6-point match, but we missed the conversion anyway. And to be fair to Wicklow, they responded to that, and they got a very good team try through Paddy McKenzie, a winger's try out wide after passing the ball right across the line, which they failed to convert to, and that was the final score, 18-5. So we can't complain. Wicklow probably could have got a bonus point in the end. They went on a 4-try bonus point, which it didn't get, and I suppose the Tullow defence held out pretty well in the last 5 or 10 minutes to prevent Wicklow getting that try. But we've no complaint. Talking to Morris and the lads afterwards, they do feel that the lads are just not clicking at the moment. I should have said there that the team was we were only missing two really, Ryan Jordan and Dara Cosgrave. So we can't say we were missing too many. The team was Will O'Brien at full back. The three quarters was Jack Hanlon, the two Johnson brothers, Adam and John, Jack in the centre, and Ryan O'Neill on the other wing. Peter Burgess out half, Gareth Fitzgerald scrum half. Front row, Scott Callback, Daniel Culleton, Tom Cashin. Second row, Martin Cole and Joe Waters. And in the back row, Fiacre Byrne, Stephen Smith and Jack McDonald. The subs were Adam Burgess, Fiacre Kavanagh, Shane Murphy, Mark Ashton and Tig McCarthy Griffin. So I said we can't complain about missing a whole lot of players anyway. That wouldn't be an excuse we could use in the circumstances. So disappointing. And as Tom mentioned, their training very disrupted this week. So trying to get trying to iron out mistakes and lineouts and drop passes, there's not many opportunities to do that in the week that's in it. So that's where we are. We talked about the games ahead. In this block of games, we have another home match next week with Suttonians, who are third in the table, and that won't be too simple either. And then the big derby the following Sunday away to Carlow, our great friends and rivals Carlow, Saturday week in Carlow. So it's all to play for, and we're going to have to improve if we're going to get on now either of those two games. The table is interesting at the moment. Ashburn are at the bottom and seem to be heading for relegation. They're on 4 points, and next to them are Tullow and Carlow, quite close together. Tullow on 13 points, or Tullow on 16 points, and Carlow on 13 points. And there's a bit of a gap then up to Wicklow and the Tide, who are both on 24 points. So, the Tullow-Carlow match is really looks like being crucial at this stage, but there's still a lot of time left. So, we didn't get a bonus point last week, and Carlow did, so that brought them 1 point closer to us. So, yeah, the next 2 weeks are going to be very interesting, and I think Tullow would need to get their act together. There is a feeling that they're just not holding the passes, and they're not just striking form, and there isn't the usual cohesion there for the last number of games, and that is a concern. So the fixtures of the weekend, there's like Carlow, we have a full roundup of fixtures. On Saturday, the under 13 boys are away to Wexford, under 14 boys home to Tullamore. Tom mentioned the Rhinos, the under 18 boys away to Wicklow. On Sunday, the under 16 Rhinos are home to Wexford, the under 18 Rhinos home to Greystones. The under 16 boys are home to Portlaoise, the under 18 boys seconds are home to Naas, and the under 15 boys are home to Navan. As I said earlier, the J1s on Saturday are both home to Suttonians, and our women's AIL team are playing home to Old Belvedere on Saturday at 5 o'clock, and the women's J1 team are home to Clondalkin on Sunday. So a full roundup of fixtures anyway. Whether they go ahead or not, time will tell. But there's a lot of rugby to be played at the weekend. So that's it, Stephen. Nothing really positive to report there, but we're going to have to try and rescue this season somehow.
Absolutely, it's a long time to go. We usually have these chats around Christmas, and we've had it with Kilkenny in the past as well, and a couple of months later they're lifting the Downs Cup. But yeah, it's a funny time of the year, isn't it, to switch over into the fixtures, and then you have the Downs Cup looming as well. And injuries and illness, like there've been a lot of people sick over the Christmas as well, with this flu and chest infections and stuff going around as well. So I think give it a month or so and things will change a lot. But yeah, lads, go well the weekend. The very best of luck. Hopefully the weather plays ball, which is as well, and that thaw starts and get out and get a few games played anyway. I think the Champions Cup is on this weekend from the Leinster point of view. They're up against La Rochelle. Of course, Munster in action as well. They're at home to Saracens, I think. So with the provincial teams in action as well to look forward to on the telly, and all the stories that are going with that at the moment, and players and Munster and all this sort of stuff. So interesting. We'll keep us entertained anyway.
Yeah, the Leinster match is a fascinating fixture given the history between them and La Rochelle over the last few seasons. I mean, beaten twice in the final, and but then to beat them, Leinster beat them twice last year, including hammering them in the quarterfinals. So, and La Rochelle don't seem to be in top form at the moment, given that they're scraped over a third. Somebody called Toulouse's third team last week, but that's when they might be at the more dangerous, when Rog will pull the rabbit out of the hat, and he'll be going fully stacked, as Leinster will, I presume. So that's one really to look forward to.
Yeah, Leinster have a couple of lads back as well. Hugo Keenan is back, and a few of them, and Dan Sheehan and the rest of them are all. I think Tyke Furlong's not far off being back as well. They're following their graduated, what do you call, return protocols and different training regimes and that. Tom, Munster have a big fixture, so the big Sarries coming to Thomond Park should whet the appetite for Munster. It's just been an odd one, I suppose. The Interbros over the Christmas and that as well. Just Leinster got an easy enough win down there in the end, I suppose. But Munster have a lot to prove this part of the season, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's I think their injury list is ridiculous, but I think the whole setup is just a bit of a farce at the moment, and the cloud hanging over as to who's going to be management, and it has to all take its toll. And I hope they come into it. Like, they don't. I keep saying this, like, Irish rugby has a serious problem if we don't get the likes of Munster, Ulster and Connacht firing, because I have an honest belief you can't, one province, and as good as we are here, we can't just keep producing players. And the biggest issue I have is that if you look at, say, take Munster for an example, you have kids play sport that based on idols and what they're looking up to. You know, it's like the darts. How many kids have picked up darts since young for little, you know, won the dart competition? Kids want to play dart because they see it on the telly. If Liverpool are flying, they want to have a Liverpool jersey. Man City are flying, they want a Man City jersey. So it's if Munster aren't firing, Limerick hurling was so good over the last while. Clare hurling is good. Like, if you look at Ben O'Connor, he made a decision to skip from to go from GA over to play for Munster instead of playing hurling for Cork. But how many kids are going to go, I'll play hurling, or I'll play football, or I'll do something else? Because, you know, they don't have the idols, they don't have success. If you don't have success, you won't have the kids coming up, because they won't play. They'll play. Kids are natural, you know, they want heroes, and they want to watch the best playing. And if that's going to be, like, there's a massive amount of kids, a massive turnaround in because of Limerick hurling, of support to hurling instead. You know, even though they're still getting crowds, like, they're still getting good crowds down there. Like, I haven't been down there, but I was talking to people who have gone down and said, look, the atmosphere is good still. Like, it's a great place to go for a match. It's probably one of the best places to go for a match. But I will be fearful on how many players Irish rugby are going to miss out over the next couple of years, because we won't have the same quality of kids coming through in the other provinces, because they're not performing. And that's just the way it is. As I said, if the Irish soccer, like, you'd have more people playing soccer if the Irish soccer team was successful. Every kid had a soccer ball, you know, they had an Irish jersey on. For a long time, they've had Irish rugby jerseys on, and if you see a lot of kids will wear Leinster rugby jerseys. But I'm telling you, there's probably an awful lot less kids wearing Munster jerseys at the moment. You know, they will be wearing Limerick or Clare hurling jerseys. You know, that's just the way sport is. We know that if you don't have kids coming through at grassroots, how many really good top players are we missing? Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's not the Munster, Leinster, or you know,
no, absolutely.
Which team is on top, but I'd be seriously worried over a long period of time. How many kids are we going to miss in Ulster or in Connacht if we're not pushing out? And I think it's more. I know an awful lot of Munster fans get very thick over and have a a big thing with the IRFU and Leinster, but it's not an IRFU. Well, it is an IRFU problem in the long term, but they have to get the province sorted and they have to get grassroots sorted. It's a massive province. There's too many. It's too big a province for the setup that they have. I don't know. They have to do something to get people back playing and to have making sure that they're competitive across the board. And then if they're competitive and there's more competition for places, then it's the Irish team will get better on the long term. But I just fear that we're missing a player. But I think I'd just be fearful in the next couple of years we're going to miss out on a guy that is in between being a top class hurler or a top class rugby player, and if we miss out on them, I think the Irish team will suffer on the long term. We have the Bowden Barretts and we have Snyman coming in and we all have the odd position, but we should be able to have our own teams without those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without them.
It took Leinster years to get that system and that conveyor belt running properly, Tom. So it, like you said, it's a long-term thing as well. Like I remember interviewing Michael Cheika when I was working with KCLR, 2008, 2009, maybe before that actually. And talking to Peter Breen, the press fella at the time, about their ambitions and plans with the academy. Sean was emerging that time as well. I think he was in the academy or sub-academy or something at the time. And, Sean and Brian obviously talking about. And there was huge plans about it, but they were totally bought into this plan of producing young players. What do you call it? What the phrase used at the time was
the ground up.
Call it ground up, and well, that's what they're using now. But it's right, and streamlining the way everything was happening with the schools, and like Sean was picked up from the club as well, Tyke Furlong, a couple of players like that. So there was a plan and it was bought into, but it has taken a while for it to bear fruit, and now it's bearing fruit. But at like you said, at the detriment of the other provinces, which is not Leinster's fault. But I think Munster of all of them probably need to pull their socks up the most. I think Ulster have got a decent academy. They've got a couple of decent young players coming through and bring their own through with them as well. But like I even read today about Mike Prendergast said he's still none the wiser as to what the crack is with the head coach thing or what they're going to do. He's been left in the dark about it himself, so he doesn't know. He was asked in a press conference, all the media stuff ahead of the Champions Cup, so he's none the wiser. So that's not great either. I think a lot of Munster's problems are probably starting the office down there as opposed to on the pitch. So
that's what I'm saying, Stephen. It's not. What? It's an organisational problem. It's not the players that they have.
No,
I mean there's fantastic players in Munster, fantastic players in Connacht, fantastic players in Ulster, and the issue there is just that the organisation of how they produce them. Like we're so blessed in Leinster. No, I don't think people realise the amount of work that goes into developing players by Leinster by a province. Like our own southeast area. We have the area league. We play the southeast, the Midlands, the North Midlands, the Metro. Like those areas competing against each other, and then getting the best out of those, best players out of that to go on to an under 18s development, the clubs, and then one or two every year are starting to get into academies and are starting to come out. Like in Carlow, we have Tullow Community School, we have the Prez, we have Bagnallstown, we have CBS have a team, the Gael Skull are playing. We've got into Leos now. Leos are looking at girls rugby. Like that was never heard of 20 years ago. No. That those schools would actually play rugby games, be representative games for their schools, and it's a phenomenal thing, and now we have girls rugby at a pinnacle. We now have like Mullingar. It was the final was Mullingar and Wexford, the first senior girls cup. In competition with the boys. That's only going to get bigger and bigger. That'll be the direct equivalent of the school senior cup. So that's already started. There's a huge push on rugby across the province, and it is down to Leinster and the volunteers. Like the amount of guys that have, all right, Leinster we have to pay guys in the office, but the amount of people at grassroots is just phenomenal. I mean, we have a fantastic province and at the end of the day, that's why Leinster are so good. And it's just as an organisation, they're just so professional. And yes, Munster will just have to somewhere draw a line in the sand and start from scratch. And if it takes 5 years, 10 years, but they need to do something.
Yeah, Donal Lennon said it about 2 or 3 years ago. What did he say? He had a rant on the newspaper in an article, and that's exactly what he said. He said that he even went as far as saying, as far as I remember, at the URC win, while it was great for Munster, he says it papered over an awful lot of cracks in the organisation at the time, and it says it shouldn't be taken. It shouldn't be taken as a thing. Well, we won the URC, we're fine, like everything is okay. The problems have been down there for a while.
Yeah. So all we can do is belt on, and hopefully, look, I hope Munster beat Saracens and Leinster get the result over in La Rochelle at the weekend. That they're two massive games, and I think Leinster are back to they bat at home. Then the following weekend they bat at home.
That's right, yeah.
And I hope they beat them off the pitch. Mr. Van Graham and his mercenaries. I hope they beat them off the pitch,
Ross Maloney.
Yeah, let them go. Well, yeah, we'll have to. He's turned aside now.
That's it. What do you reckon, Paddy?
Look, I'd agree with everything was said there. I think great excitement at the weekend. I think Munster really have to beat Saracens to try and turn their season around. And everything you said there about the organisational problems. I agree that they have good players. There's no question about it. But there's the whole mystery over how Roundtree left them. The uncertainty over his replacement. It can't be good for the need to move on and put systems in place. But I think I agree with everything both you said there. It's an organisational issue more than a player issue.
Yeah. We look forward to the stuff of the weekend. Best of luck to your own clubs, of course, and we'll catch up with these lads next week and see how everyone get on. Tom Crotty, Paddy Browne on the knock-on, and myself, Stephen Byrne. James Blanchfield will be back with us next week. Take care, folks.
Thank you, Stephen. Take care.
Thanks, Paddy. Enjoy your holiday.